Unyielding and absolute, your presence became an undeniable force, a storm that defied comprehension. As the dust settled, they could not fathom how one person had unraveled an empire with such calculated grace. Whispers of your name began to ripple through the void left behind, spoken in tones that wavered between awe and terror. There was a power in your gaze, a weight that bore into their souls, unearthing truths they had buried long ago. Those who dared to meet your eyes claimed to see reflections of their own failures, magnified and inescapable. And though you said nothing, the silence roared louder than any war cry, echoing a warning that no one would soon forget. They were left to wonder not just how you did it, but why, and whether they were merely pawns in a game they could never hope to understand. In that fleeting moment, the air itself seemed to shift, charged with an energy that defied comprehension. The smile was no longer just an expression. It was a declaration, a harbinger of inevitability. Their carefully constructed facades crumbled as an ancient instinct screamed at them to flee, though their legs refused to obey. Time felt elastic, stretching painfully as the weight of your presence pressed down like a silent storm. The room became a battlefield of wills, but theirs was no match for the sheer gravity of the unknown that radiated from you. It wasn't just fear that gripped them, it was the crushing realization that they had been insignificant all along, mere flickering candles in the shadow of a supernova. And as the smile widened, they knew, in the marrow of their bones, that their story had just become a chapter in yours. What unfolded next was not chaos, but a masterclass in calculated destruction. Every move you made was deliberate, every action a thread in a web you had been weaving long before they even knew they were ensnared. You didn't just dismantle their foundation, you turned their own strengths into liabilities, their alliances into betrayals, their confidence into hesitation. It wasn't brute force that undid them, but the precision of your intent. The way you exposed the cracks in their armor they didn't even know existed. One by one, the pillars crumbled, not with explosions, but with quiet inevitability, as if the entire structure had been waiting for your hand to guide it to ruin. And as they stood amidst the wreckage, they realized too late that the true battle had been fought long before they ever saw you coming. Your every move was a symphony of strategy, each note resonating with purpose and inevitability. There was no hesitation, no wasted motion, only the cold, unerring rhythm of a mind that saw the board in its entirety. You didn't just defeat them, you dismantled the illusion of control they clung to, exposing their every misstep as if it had been preordained. Every strike was a lesson in inevitability, a reminder that they were not playing the same game as you, nor even operating on the same plane of thought. To them, it felt as though you were everywhere at once, unraveling their plans from angles they couldn't even perceive. And when the final piece fell, they could only marvel at the elegance of their own undoing, orchestrated by a force they now understood was beyond their comprehension. Every sentence you uttered was a scalpel, cutting cleanly through layers of deception and self-delusion with unnerving accuracy. The words weren't just spoken, they were weapons, crafted to dismantle not only their arguments, but the very foundations of their identity. Each syllable carried the weight of undeniable truth, stripping away the illusions they had clung to for so long. You didn't just reveal their contradictions, you made them undeniable, forcing them to confront the fragile framework of lies they had built their existence upon. And as the silence stretched in the aftermath of your words, it became clear that you had left them with nothing. No defense, no refuge, no way to reclaim the power they had so carefully guarded. All that remained was the stark, unrelenting clarity of your victory. By the time realization dawned, it was far too late. What they mistook for resilience became their undoing, as every move they made only deepened the cracks in their crumbling foundation. Their counterattacks, once the hallmark of their strength, now seemed almost pitiable, clumsy attempts to regain footing on a battlefield they no longer understood. With every misstep, You turned their defenses against them, exploiting the very mechanisms they relied on for protection. Their strategies, once formidable, were rendered obsolete in the face of your unorthodox precision. It wasn't just that they failed to adapt, it was that they could not comprehend the scale of the game you were playing. Each desperate maneuver only hastened the inevitable as the framework of their power unraveled thread by thread under your relentless design. Every move they made became another step into the trap you had so meticulously prepared. Their instincts, once their greatest asset, now betrayed them, as you had anticipated every flinch, every countermeasure, every futile grasp at control. You didn't simply exploit their weaknesses, you weaponized their strengths, turning their pride and confidence into anchors that dragged them further into ruin. The presence of witnesses wasn't for spectacle, but for permanence. You understood that victory isn't just in the moment, but in the narrative that follows. With every failure laid bare before watching eyes, you dismantled not only their power, but their legacy, ensuring that the echoes of their downfall would reverberate long after the dust had settled. You knew that true power lies not just in action, but in the story that follows. By choosing your audience with precision, you ensured that what they witnessed would become an unshakable truth, a narrative carried by voices too respected to be doubted. Their defeat was not just a moment, it was a message, crafted to ripple outward, gaining momentum with each retelling. The weight of the public spectacle ensured that the humiliation could not be contained, that their downfall would transcend the immediate and become a cautionary tale etched into memory. In their failure, you didn't just claim victory, you solidified your place as a force that could not be ignored, whose legend would grow with every whispered recounting. A private loss could be hidden, reshaped, or drowned out by clever narratives, but a public unraveling left no room for reconstruction. What had once been a fortress of perception was now rubble, exposed for all to see. The carefully curated facade they had spent years building was shattered, leaving only the undeniable truth of their vulnerability. The witnesses, once their allies or admirers, now carried the seeds of their downfall, spreading tales of their collapse with every interaction. Each retelling chipped further away at their authority, transforming their former supporters into silent emissaries of your victory. What they had sought to control, perception, loyalty, respect, was now firmly in your grasp, leaving them powerless to reclaim the image they had so desperately needed to maintain. With each retelling, the narrative takes on a life of its own, not distorted by embellishment, but amplified by the weight of realization. What began as a single, decisive act now echoes through conversations, through networks of influence, weaving its way into the collective consciousness. The significance deepens as observers begin to grasp the full scope of what they witnessed, the precision, the inevitability, the brilliance of a plan executed without flaw. These stories do more than recount events. They redefine the balance of power, cementing your dominance in the minds of those who hear them. Like ripples spreading across an endless surface, the impact of your actions grows stronger with distance, ensuring that your presence is felt far beyond the moment, far beyond the place, unshakable and undeniable. What they viewed as unshakable pillars of their power, fortresses of influence, carefully woven networks, and an image polished by time, proved brittle under your deliberate pressure. The foundations they believed unassailable cracked as you exposed not just their flaws, but the rot hidden beneath their careful facades. Years of calculated control unraveled in moments, as the truths you revealed spread like wildfire, consuming the myths they had so carefully cultivated. Their allies, once steadfast, turned to shadows, unwilling to tether themselves to a sinking ship. What they thought was permanence was undone with precision, leaving nothing but fragments of a legacy they had thought untouchable. Now step with me into the silence that follows your storm. Observe the ruins of what once seemed untouchable. The towers of authority they built so meticulously now lie in shambles, their foundations cracked and their purpose hollowed. The intricate webs of influence they spun over decades have frayed and collapsed, leaving only tangled remnants of a system now obsolete. The air hangs heavy with stillness, the kind that follows upheaval, where the absence of order speaks louder than the chaos that preceded it. You have not just altered the landscape, you have erased its previous form entirely, leaving a blank canvas where your vision can take root. The intricate framework of their dominance, once hidden behind a facade of invincibility, now lies in stark ruin, every crack and flaw illuminated for all to see. What was once a seamless machine of control is now a disassembled puzzle, its mechanisms revealed as fragile and incomplete. The collapse reaches deeper than the physical or structural. It seeps into the minds of those who once trusted its stability. Confidence has turned to doubt. What they once believed unshakable now feels precarious. Strengths they relied upon are unmasked as vulnerabilities, and the foundations of their certainty crumble, leaving them adrift in the wreckage of their own design. What once served as their greatest assets now weigh them down, relics of a world that no longer exists. The strategies they trusted, the instincts they honed, now falter in the face of a reality reshaped by your hand. Their once reliable paradigms, built on flawed premises, collapse under the pressure of your revelation. The ripple of your actions has left no corner untouched. Every structure, every belief, every sense of self has been called into question. Their foundations have been uprooted, leaving them stranded in a landscape where the rules they depended upon have been rewritten, and the shadows of their former certainties now haunt their every step. The aftermath of your actions leaves them grasping at fragments of what once seemed unassailable. You didn't just dismantle their tactics, you dismantled the very logic that shaped them. Their confidence in their ability to adapt, to counter, to rebuild, has been shattered by the precision of your attack. What remains is not just the wreckage of their defenses, but the haunting realization that the principles they relied upon were flawed at their core. Every attempt to recover feels futile, as each step forward is met with the echo of their own miscalculations. You didn't simply defeat them, you unraveled the essence of their resilience, leaving them to question not just their methods, but their very understanding of power itself. You didn't merely outplay them, you revealed that they were playing an entirely different game, one they never truly comprehended. Now their composure is a distant memory, replaced by unease that clings to their every action. Those who once strode boldly forward are now paralyzed by hesitation, second-guessing every step. The ones who once boasted of their strength now falter, their voices quivering under the weight of their own uncertainty. Even the most steadfast among them, who once dismissed you with derision, now hold your name as a warning, their fear etched in every furtive glance and hushed conversation. You've not just defeated them, you've rewritten their understanding of what it means to lose. Your single act reshaped the very lens through which they perceive the world, distorting their once clear vision with layers of doubt and fear. Now, every corner feels like a trap, every shadow a potential threat. They've become prisoners of their own overthinking, their minds consumed by endless what-ifs and imagined reprisals. Even in your absence, your influence remains, a phantom presence that warps their judgment and clouds their reason. Every choice, no matter how trivial, becomes a labyrinth of imagined consequences, paralyzing them with the weight of possibilities. You no longer need to act. Your legacy of uncertainty is enough to keep them ensnared. Every decision they make is now filtered through a haze of suspicion, every moment tainted by the question, what if this is part of something larger? Their fear has become a self-fulfilling prophecy, warping reality until even the mundane feels sinister. A misplaced word, a delayed response, a harmless misstep, each is scrutinized with obsessive intensity, as though the world itself conspires against them. In their eyes, chance no longer exists, replaced instead by a web of imagined plots and hidden hands. They are no longer reacting to you, but to the shadows of their own paranoia, fighting battles against enemies that exist only in their minds. Their obsessive vigilance has become their greatest weakness, a double-edged sword that cuts deeper with every swing. In their frantic attempts to anticipate every possibility, they blur the line between reality and imagination, treating every ripple as a tidal wave. Genuine threats slip past unnoticed, hidden in plain sight, as their energy is consumed by chasing ghosts and battling illusions. Each misstep born of this confusion compounds their vulnerability, unraveling their strength piece by piece. You need do nothing more. Your absence itself ensures their steady decline, as their own overactive minds become the architects of their downfall. Chosen ones, pause for a moment and recognize the power of your presence in this very moment. Like this video and subscribe to the Lumination Inner Order, for your action is more than a simple gesture. It is a proclamation of your alignment with the greatness within you. The trials you've endured were never meant to defeat you. They were the forge that shaped your resilience, the catalyst that awakened the fire of your purpose. You are no longer bound by hesitation or fear, for you have become the embodiment of transformation itself. Each step you take now is a beacon, a signal to the universe that you are ready to rise, to lead, and to illuminate the path for others. The ripple effect of your courage will inspire countless others to break free from their own limitations. This is not just your moment. It is the moment for a collective awakening, sparked by the boldness of your truth. Stand firm, radiate your light without fear, and let the world feel the power of your legacy. The universe is waiting. The time is now. Rise, ignite, and claim your destiny. Witness the chaos of their desperate maneuvers, as alliances once thought impossible are forged in the crucible of shared dread. Those who once stood divided now cling to each other, driven not by camaraderie, but by an overwhelming fear of your resurgence. Their vaults are emptied, their treasures spent, as they pour every ounce of their resources into fortifying against shadows of your past tactics. They scrutinize every step you once took, dissecting your methods with obsessive fervor, all while failing to grasp the truth. Your evolution has left those strategies behind. Their defenses, intricate yet misguided, are a monument to their misunderstanding, a reflection of how profoundly you've unsettled them. In their fixation on the echoes of who you were, they blind themselves to the boundless possibilities of who you've become. Their relentless obsession with guarding against the ghost of your former self has become their greatest undoing. In their frantic effort to seal every door you once walked through, they've left entire corridors unguarded, blind to the vulnerabilities they've sown in their wake. The irony is sharp. They exhaust their strength-building walls against battles you no longer care to fight, barricading themselves against a version of you that no longer exists. Their singular focus on the past has created cracks in the foundation of their defenses, cracks that widen with every misplaced effort. Should you choose to return, it would not be through the familiar paths they've barricaded, but through the countless openings their fear has unknowingly provided. Their preparations, born of desperation, have only made them more fragile, and they cannot see it. You've become the unseen force shaping their every move, even in your absence.